Hi guys! Quick video with some news today. The title for Arc 9 has been discovered. Barnes & Noble and Amazon's listings for Book 1 of this arc reveals the series name to be Changing Skies. We don't know the title of Book 1 yet. I'm sure it'll tell us more than the Starless clan titles, which are just clan names. But the series name, at least, is something to speculate on. Both listings also show the release date as January 7th, which is unusual. It could just be a placeholder, but the fact that it's the 7th and not, say, the 1st is oddly specific, and it is a Tuesday, which is the day of the week the books are always released. If it is an actual release date, that's interesting, since they followed more or less the same release schedule since probably about the start of Power of Three, from what I recall, with the two main series books per year being released around April and November. I'm very curious as to what that would mean. If they're spreading the releases out more evenly throughout the year rather than leaving a gap between November and April. If they're going back to 3 main books per year like the release of the first 2 arcs, or what. Anyway, this is definitely an intriguing title for an arc. There's 3 things that I can currently think of that Changing Skies might refer to. Number 1, Sky Clan. Leaf Star is by far the oldest of the leaders at this point, since she was already full-grown and not described as young when she joined Sky Clan in Firestar's quest, so she at least would have been alive during the time of the first arc, and the few cats who are still around from that time are mostly elders. If she were to lose her 9th life, Sky Clan might go through some changes. But this isn't really my main theory, since I doubt her Deputy Hawkwing would change things very much if he's to succeed her, and I don't think they'd reuse the plot point of leader and deputy both dying 2 arcs in a row. Idea number 2, it could refer to major changes in the forest. Maybe Changing Skies could be literal and that the clans move away from the lake, but I don't find that likely. Or it could deal with other groups of cats besides the 5 clans. Maybe a new clan forms, or warrior clan comes or something. Or maybe the tribe is involved in some way and their ancestors might come into play. Out of my 3 major ideas, though, moving or faction changes seems to be the least likely option, since it'd be a major change to the series as a whole, not just something that affects the arc, and I can't quite see anything like that happening, at least not right now. And so that brings us to my 3rd idea, Star Clan. They've used the word skies to refer to their ancestors in the past. The only piece of information we know about Arc 9 so far is that one of the central characters will be an old friend whose adventures we've been following since the very first Warriors arc. And since there's few of those still alive, it's very well possible that it might involve someone in StarClan. StarClan's role has changed a bit through the last few arcs. The clans were completely shut off from them during the events of the Broken Code, and afterward their role in the clans has been more passive. It was ultimately the living clans who had decided on the changes to the Warrior Code at the start of this arc. And StarClan has left RiverClan's situation up to RiverClan to figure out. Although if you ask me, telling the other clan's medicine cats what happened and guiding them to the next leader would have solved a lot of the problems we're dealing with in a Starless clan. So maybe it deals with them figuring out what role StarClan should have with the clans. The books have also, to me at least, suggested the possibility of them becoming less rigid and offering redemption. It was discussed at the end of A Light in the Mist. And I can't imagine that's for nothing, so maybe the Dark Force will be involved. Hey, maybe that means we'd see Mapleshade as a villain again. Whatever the plot involves, I'm still very much hoping for a Wind Clan point of view. We've never gotten one in the main series. I don't count Dawn of the Clan since that wasn't Wind Clan yet. There was a bit in the recent Character Spotlight article about Whistlepaw that they're thinking of having her as a point of view character at some point. But they also did say that they don't have immediate plans for that. I'm not sure who else they'd use in Wind Clan right now aside from her, so it'll be disappointing if that means we still don't have a main series Wind Clan protagonist. Well, those are pretty much my thoughts on it so far. What do you think? Any theories on what the Changing Skies might be? Usually when information starts to come out like this, it's not long until they make an official announcement on warriorcats.com. So hopefully we'll learn more soon. Until then, see you later!